My name is Jonboy Meyers. I am a video game and concept artist and comic book artist.
Comic book artist Jonboy Meyers has been in the industry for about 24 years now. Since his big break in Marvel with the Marvel Age Spider-Man comic book in 2004, Meyers has worked on other various comic books such as DC Titans Rebirth, Red Hood and the Outlaws, Supergirl, and Spawn.
I was at Riot Games and I happened to run into Todd McFarlane, who was walking around with his wife in Artist Alley, and we stopped by and we talked for like 10-15 minutes, had a really nice just chat about comics. And it's like, oh, hey man, hey, all respects, man, here's my book, like great meeting you. And I thought that was it. And then a couple days later, he gave me a call. I was like, hey, is this Jonboy? I was like, yeah, what's up? And he goes, this is Todd McFarlane. I'm like, no, this ain't Todd McFarlane. I was like, no, it's Todd. And he goes, don't say anything. I'm bringing back Al Simmons, and I want to know if you want to draw Spawn. And I was like, yes.
After leaving Marvel, McFarlane published Spawn #1 in 1992. McFarlane has always been an advocate of creators having control of their own work. So we had to ask Jonboy, how was it working with Todd on his own creations?
Todd was like very adamant from the get-go, like, hey, look, like, just do what you want to do with it. He goes, visually, you can pretty much do whatever you want. He goes, don't do anything crazy with it. But kind of looking back at the plethora of artists that already worked on Spawn, like Greg Capullo and Todd McFarlane, like, I'm not either of those guys. I knew that if I wanted to stand out a little bit, I probably had to do something a little bit more riskier with my style and what I wanted to do with the character. So what we ended up doing was I wanted to put a mouth on him, a tongue, kind of give it a nice little nod to Todd co-creating Venom a little bit. And we also gave him a big sword. I think every artist who comes on something should try to make that character their own and add a different wrinkle to it. Because when you do, then it's just every version of Spawn, that's that creator's own take of that character. Which is really important because like there's a lot of choice for comics out there, and I'm really adamant about giving people choice. So when I'm working on a book, I try to make it design-wise differently from what people have seen, which is kind of good because it endures. And I think the reason why it's endured is because that design element that I did for that character really resonates with people. That's why it's kind of sticking around.
Meyers is currently working on Valiant's Killers and Bloodshot, but he's also venturing out and launched his own sketchbook, and he's currently working on his own comic book.
I did a sketchbook called Volume 2, and I used the funds for that to actually self-finance my creator-owned book, which is called Princess Dragonkiller. It's set in a fantasy world, but it's fantasy with high sci-fi, so there's some tech in there. It's basically an elven princess who loses her entire people and her family. They're all killed by dragons who are supposed to protect them. So it's basically a revenge book. She gets really mad and grabs her father's swords and swears she's going to go slay them. So this little 11-year-old girl with this giant magical sword, she kills dragons. I've already got it plotted out. I'm just tweaking the designs right now. So I think her design I haven't quite settled on yet. And it's kind of weird. All these side characters are pretty easy to design, but the main character, you kind of want her to be more of an outlier from everyone else because her story is she's pretty much the last of her people. So the way she looks and moves should be completely different from everybody else. There's got to be something special about that character. I think that the thing when you're writing your own content, it's really easy to make side characters more interesting than your main character. So writing it, I'm kind of finding out that that's kind of happening. I'm like, oh, I kind of like writing this character. I'm like, well, you know what? I can't do that because I have to, like, she's the main character, so I have to pull back on that a little bit, pump the brakes on it and try to flesh her out a little bit. Once I have the design put down and I'll do a preview, like a 10 to 12 page preview book, I'll put that together as my pitch book and I'll send it out. I've talked to a couple publishers. Hopefully we'll end up at Image Comics because I like Image. I've done stuff at Image. I have a really good relationship with people at Image, so I'm hoping it'll end up there since I'm self-financing it. I'm just looking for people to distribute. I think at this point in my career, I've been doing this for so long, like I really don't want to have to give any more percentages of stuff out of things that I create than I don't have to. So, this is just something I want to own as free and clear as I can because I have that creative itch. I want to do more than just draw. I have a story to tell. So I think that'll kind of satisfy that.
To know more about Jonboy Meyers and to purchase his sketchbook, go to jonboymeyers.com. Remember, you can follow Geekvised on Instagram and YouTube at Geekvised, and you can follow me at Miriam and Tapia on Instagram and Twitter. See you next time.